All right, welcome back to another episode of Views from the Grand East. Today I am sitting with Bruce C. Galloway, Right Worshipful, Bruce C. Galloway, our Senior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge. So we already got to sit with Most Worshipful J.U.G. Margroff, so today we're going to get a chance here with Bruce, and we'll see if we get some of the other elected members. So Bruce, just to get started so the brethren get to know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in Freemasonry.
Well, started in 1970. I got my Master Mason degree in 1970. My father was actually the master who raised me, so that's kind of
That's a good experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience. That made me the third generation in my family who were members here. My grandfather was raised in 1917, and then my father and myself.
In this lodge?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then our son is fourth generation here. So that's kind of cool. But when I was younger, my father was an officer in the lodge, so I was exposed to Masonry from the time I was 6, 7 years old, and he was master in 1962. So shortly thereafter, he reestablished the local DMLA chapter, and I became a DMLA in 1963, and that kind of started my journey there. And got my Master Mason degree in 1970, and was master here in Vineland in 1977, and served again as master here in Vineland. Unfortunately, we had the junior and senior wardens passed away in the same year.
Wow. Okay.
So another past master and I stepped in to fill the void. And I was also master in Brierley Lodge number 2. And that's where I started. So here I am.
How many times, like what positions have you held in Grand Lodge, outside of obviously Junior Grand Warden?
Well, I was Grand Chaplain with Most Worshipful Ray Vandenberg. And then I was District Deputy Grand Master for 3 years, 2000, 2001, 2002. And then I was kind of reverse order district ritual instructor, 2014, 2015, 2017, and 2018. So, and then Grand Marshal after that, and then Junior Grand Warden, and
Here we are.
Here I am.
Here we are. I got to say, I still love the photo that I got of you when they did the announcement, and you had won. And the look on your face, it's just like, you know how you say a picture's worth 1,000 words? Mm-hmm. Like you could see like the relief, the joy, like all of it. That was actually a really great moment to capture. All right, so we got a little bit of your background. So next question I have here for you is, what would you say is your favorite part of the craft? There's so many things that we all love. Everyone finds their different place in it. For you, what is the best part of Freemasonry?
I think the people that you meet that you would never have the opportunity to meet otherwise.
Agreed.
And not only in New Jersey, but outside of New Jersey.
Sure.
When I was working, I traveled quite a bit, and there were opportunities to go to lodge in different places and different, in different states and so forth, and meet people in that that area, and the whole idea of, oh, we are a brotherhood, and yes, the ritual's different and all that, but the camaraderie, the
principle,
brotherhood, yeah, and all that is still the same. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting to see, and you have an instant connection, yeah, with those brothers, even though they may be 1,000 miles away or wherever.
We all have brothers we haven't met yet.
Right, right, and I and of course I enjoyed doing the ritual. I enjoyed seeing the ritual done properly. That's a lot of fun to me. So, but I think meeting people, new people, and just kind of picking their brain to say, hey, what do you get out of this? What's your take on Masonry in your particular jurisdiction? So that, you know.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, I like that you're talking about traveling, because you're going to get new perspectives.
Right.
And those perspectives, I know you were earlier talking about the Conference of Grand Masters,
Mm-hmm.
right? I remember talking with some of the past Grand Masters, and they were talking about how there's just so much being shared, best
Mm-hmm.
practices, things to stay away from, stuff like that.
Right.
And so traveling, as what we should be doing as Masons, I think is important.
Right. And you see the shared values, and you meet the men of a like mindset, if that makes sense, and to share the things that are working in a particular jurisdiction or not working.
Sure.
To look at those and say, hey, this could be something we could use, we could do. Maybe we tweak it. Maybe we do something a little differently. But it's important, I think, that we share those positive things and negative things too. I'm sure, every Grand Lodge, every lodge has challenges,
Sure.
no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter how successful you are, there's always something that you can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that said, then what's your goal as Grand Master? I'm sure there's a lot of things on the table. We have other stuff that's in place, but if we're sitting here and having this conversation again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the end of your year, what would you like to be able to say?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we as a fraternity need to do is train our upcoming officers. I've obviously been doing this a long time, and I had the benefit, first of all, of being a DMLA and learning a lot of the skills to run a meeting, to plan a term, to plan an event, to go back and review that event at the end of it and say, hey, this is what we did well, this is where we need to improve. Where I don't see many of our masters have that training. And it's not a shot at anybody's intellectual capacity or any of that. It's a question of nobody's shown them how to do it.
You can't know what you don't know.
Right. And you look at a master who is essentially thrust into a leadership position, and
That happened to me.
he's unprepared.
Yeah, 4-year master.
He's unprepared.
Yeah.
And it's not a shot at them. It's just nobody has sat down and said, okay, you need to sit and plan your year as master. You need to understand how to run this meeting. You need to have an agenda so your meeting doesn't wander about.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I want to accomplish. And I know our Deputy Grand Master, Right Worshipful Omar Morris, and our Junior Grand Warden, Right Worshipful Bud Maggi, and I are already talking about how we want to implement this kind of a program. And we are looking at doing a training by district. So you come
Kind of
in,
like the proof of concept, like do it.
in a way that the masters, senior warden, junior wardens come in on say a Saturday morning, and one, I'll call him instructor, takes the masters and says, hey, how's your term going? What are your challenges? All that kind of thing. Somebody else takes the senior wardens for the district and says, okay, 6 months, you're going to be the master.
Yeah.
What's your plan?
Yeah.
What's your budget? Have you thought about projects that you're going to do? And so forth. And then somebody else takes the junior wardens and possibly the senior deacons, if we can get them, and says, hey, in a year and a half, you're going to be the master. What do you think you want to accomplish? What big fundraisers do you have? What are you going to do
Yeah.
to prepare them to be the master, and to, in a way, expose them to information that they may not have. Speakers bureaus, different things that can be done as a lodge. And
One of the things we got to do last year, and I've been fortunate enough to go a few years now, working as like media for the committee, the Masonic Leadership Conference.
Mhm.
So, you got to go. I saw you at the last one we were talking. And I've had conversations with a lot of brethren, past Grand Masters, and, even like Right Worshipful Mike Check, great job on it. Um, it's such a great experience. Now, obviously, we can't probably replicate that all the time, but I think what you're talking about would be perfect to, let's say, start there
Mhm.
and then have that program that goes throughout the year where we can maybe sit with the senior warden so we can mark that 6-month marker, like, okay, we're going to have a class for just senior wardens and stuff.
Right.
And the fact that you're talking about, Right Worshipful Omar Morris, even, Right Worshipful Bud Maggi behind you, that you guys are going to have that continuity. It's going to help ensure that we get that program.
Right.
So I think that's a great thing to hear. I love it.
Yeah.
That's for me. I'm really about that.
Yeah, I think the leadership conference is a great program, but unfortunately, there's just not enough room for all the senior, junior wardens, senior deacons to come and participate.
Yeah.
There's just limited space.
Yeah, literally, physically. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have limitations in that not everybody can take a weekend to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to pay for it. I
Right.
mean, usually a lot of lodges will pick up, but sometimes some can't.
Yeah.
I know that's been an issue. All right, moving along here. We're talking about some of these things that you had mentioned, so you might have touched base on it, but I want to hit it directly. What do you believe is the biggest hurdle in the craft right now?
Well, everybody, I think, would point at membership,
It's the most common one I hear. Yeah.
but I don't think it's necessarily membership per se. I think the important thing is not only bringing in members, but giving them a positive experience so that they continue. It does you no good to bring in a member, he's all excited, and then 2 years later, he's gotten nothing out of Masonry, and he's suspended for non-payment of dues. Well, you've wasted your time, you've wasted his time. So I think lodges need to understand that we need to give our members, and not just the new ones, but the existing ones, an experience, a good experience.
Can you elaborate on what you would mean, like, by experience? Like, what kind of things are we looking at, so
Well-
that you who are watching can take this information and put it into play, like best practices then?
Okay, let me give you an example. It's January. It's 15 degrees out. You just got home from work, and okay, I'm going to get some dinner. I'm going to get changed. I'm going to go to lodge. Okay, so I go to lodge, and there's no food. We go up to the lodge, we open, we read the minutes, we pay the bills, we fight over the electric bill, we close, and we go home. Okay, now, is that a positive experience? No, it isn't. And that's why men do not come to lodge meetings. And some of this, in my opinion, simple things that we can do, and I get a lot of trestle boards. I got a trestle board last month. The master's message was, please come to our meeting. Please come to our rehearsal.
That's it?
That was the message.
Okay.
How inspiring is that?
It's not very.
No.
No.
No. Why would you do that? Other thing is, and we've all seen them, dinner, 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
What's that mean? Does that mean pizza? Does that mean subs? Does that mean Popeye's chicken? What does that mean? Or Could you say dinner 6:30, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, Masonic green beans?
Harumph.
Yeah. Just to say, well, maybe there's somebody, a brother who is working close by. He says, oh, well, I can get a decent dinner. Okay, well, I'll take my suit. And I'll instead of going home, I'll come to the lodge.
Yeah.
Come to the meeting.
Yeah, you get changed there if anything.
Right. So simple things.
I like the idea of putting the meal in the minutes.
Yeah.
We've never done that. We eat after, but we try to put out something before. So if people come, there's like kind of like a little antipas, something to at least get you through the meeting. And then we have the dinner after. But we never put what it's going to be. I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And no program. Lodge has no program. Well, there are hundreds of programs that are out there. Hundreds. Not only from the Masonic Speakers Bureau, but Scottish Rite has a Speakers Bureau. But let's not get into the idea of it must be a Masonic program. There's loads of programs out there that are non-Masonic that are perfectly applicable to a Masonic meeting.
Sure.
As a, for instance, we had a local historian come in and talk about the history of Vineland.
Okay.
Right? Well, you start looking at the history of Vineland, anybody who was anybody in the history of the community was a member of the lodge.
Really?
All right. Right across the street is the Vineland Public Library.
Yeah. So they're across the way.
Okay. The land on which the library is built was donated by one of our brothers from Vineland Lodge.
Really? Interesting.
The City Hall is named after one of our brothers who was the prime mover in consolidating all the city services into that one building. The Wallace Middle School, named after Brother Thomas Wallace, a member of this lodge. H.L. Reber School, named after a past master of Vineland Lodge. So you go back in the history of your community, the men who were, you know, the councilmen and the educators and the presidents of the school board and the mayors and all them, in all likelihood, were members of the fraternity. The other thing is, it seems like every place you turn, there's a craft brewery or a winery.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere now.
Well, okay. Those folks are more than happy to come in after your lodge meeting and demonstrate their products. It's sales for them. It's publicity.
But the brethren are going to enjoy it.
It's a free program.
Yeah.
You know, if you have somebody who is a cigar aficionado.
We got quite a few.
Well, there's another program. But you don't have to have a Masonic program. We had a rescue dog, one of the cadaver dogs, unfortunately. But those dogs are privately owned, which most people don't know. So, and they cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 each. So we had one came in and they did a demo, and local police, local fire folks, they're more than happy to do a lot of that stuff. So you don't have to limit yourself to a Masonic presentation.
Sure. I like that. All right. And brother, as you can see, we are sitting in Vineland Lodge. So clearly, historically, you guys have a lot of involvement in the town. And that's beautiful to see that history. And that's another reason, like what you're talking about, bringing somebody in like that. If I came in as a newer member, to find out that this lodge had so much history in the town, it's a reason to be proud.
Sure.
There's a little bit of pride never hurts. You don't want to go all the way, but a little bit never hurts. Moving along, the next subject I want to talk about is the membership committee. I got to talk about it previously. For you guys that are watching, you might have seen an individual walk through this door because the camera does have the door in the shot, and that was Right Worshipful Art Campbell, who's been heading up the committee with you. So Art, you made it into the video. Congratulations. Bruce, tell me a little bit about the membership committee from your point of view.
Well, first of all, I think they're doing a great job. And shout out to all of them. I mean, Art's been working really hard to get this thing moving. The biggest challenge is at the lodge level.
Yeah. We're definitely identifying that, yeah.
And the follow-up. And it's, you know, we have, unfortunately, members knocking at our door, potential members knocking at our door, and we're not answering the door.
Yeah.
And there are men who are looking for us. And certainly, you know, the membership push is not infallible. You're always going to have somebody who's looking for the national treasure. It's in the basement, by the way.
Is it yours?
Yeah,
Here? Okay.
But seriously, you know, you're always going to have that person who, you know, is looking for something that we're not.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge that I see, and you know, Art and I have had many discussions about it, is the lack of follow-up at the lodge level.
Now, are we talking about with the ambassadors and stuff, or just the lodge itself? Like
Well, and I think it's a multi-pronged situation in that you've got an ambassador, but an ambassador can only do so much.
Sure.
You know, if for instance the membership committee generates 20 particular leads for a particular lodge, it's very difficult for one man to follow up on 20 leads.
Yeah.
So it becomes incumbent on all of us, I think, to make sure that those leads are followed up. And my opinion, and a lot of my background is in sales, customer service. Okay, you have to reach out to somebody 7 times before they get their message. So somebody who calls and leaves a message on somebody's voicemail and figures, they didn't call me back. Okay. No, they didn't, because they don't know who you are. They have no idea what you're doing. And maybe it's like a lot of us get those calls to.
Oh, we're inundated with all that stuff.
Yeah, all the, you know, extended car warranties and your USPS packages.
And your scholarship that you signed up for.
Yes, and you know, and the lottery that I won that I didn't enter, and all that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the other thing that I think is something is that we need to try to text folks rather than call them.
It's the most successful way.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I think the big follow-up there is the challenge. And certainly there are going to be people that are just looking for something that we're not. You know, and we understand that. But there are, I'm sure, a lot of sincere inquiries that are sincerely interested in learning about the fraternity, and maybe they won't join. Maybe they will. We don't know. But they want to know what we are, who we are, and I think we here in Vineland have done a good job in that we bring the potential member in and let them meet our brothers and have dinner with us and that kind of thing, and kind of get a feel for it.
I think that's important. Yeah, to kind of have that little trial run. We've been adopting that up, at least in my lodge at Adoniram.
Yeah.
Let's not rush and just have people sign. Like, let's talk to this person. Let's get to know, because they might not be a good fit here with us, but somewhere else.
Right.
Right. At the same time, every lodge has its own culture.
Right.
You know, it's kind of ideal. So some lodges might be more academic. Some might party a little bit more, and so the individual might also location.
Right.
You know, there's so many variables, I think, and that's what's the beauty about traveling throughout the state you go like, I'll come down to Vineland. This is going to be a different experience, and I'm going to see up north, or in Central, because apparently there's no Central. There is. That's another argument too.
That's a whole other argument.
That's a whole other argument. But I know you got to get going, so I don't want to keep you any longer. So any closing statements, anything you want to let the brethren know about?
Well, I think the important thing is enjoy what you're doing. And don't think Masonry is specific to your lodge. Oh, this is Masonry. Well, no, it isn't. Masonry is everywhere. And if you have an opportunity, if you're on vacation somewhere and there's a lodge that you see and you drive by and say, I wonder, maybe I could visit there. Take the opportunity to visit, because you'll find there's a whole world out there that you didn't even know about.
Sure.
And I said earlier that it's the people that you meet that you would never meet otherwise, that you find friendships and you'll find common interests. And you look at a fundraiser. The object of the fundraiser is to make money for your lodge or for a particular cause or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in having the breakfast, dinner, whatever it is, the members get together and work together as a team, but they also find out about each other. Oh, I didn't know you did this or that, or I didn't know your hobby was, or, that kind of thing. And in doing that, you're building that camaraderie, that esprit de corps, whatever you want to call it.
It's the mortar that brings us together.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It is. And if you can find that common ground with that brother, he's going to stay. He's going to stay because, he and I do the same thing. Or he and I think the same way. Or he and I like the ritual. Or
finding the common ground that you share.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing that you get out of the fraternity is the camaraderie that you build, and knowing that, hey, if I have an issue, I can pick up the phone and call somebody and they're going to help me. Whatever I need, they're going to give me a hand as much as they can. And I think that's a huge, huge thing, especially in today's society.
Later today, we're going to be, I'll be talking with Right Worshipful Eli Bergowitz, who was grand photographer during Most Worshipful Vanderhorn's year, but he got injured. And so he's going to tell the story of how a lot of the brethren were there to support him. I know his wife's going to come. I believe another brother's coming that he asked to be here. And that's what's important, that people know that, hey, not Freemasonry is what we can give, but also the brethren taking care of each other, looking out for each other. It's become the extended family for me. And, and like you said, Bruce, you and I probably would have never met.
No.
If it wasn't for the craft.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, it's interesting to see, and we're not a big state geographically, but when you look at some of these other states that
was just in Texas, I was in Austin, drove over to Waco, got to see the Grand Lodge there, but they were telling me that sometimes the guys, he has a plane that he charters to get around.
Oh yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, and there are, like, we were in San Antonio, and there are 52 Masonic lodges in San Antonio.
Just in San Antonio alone. Wow.
So, there's a lot of interaction in those.
Yeah.
So, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bruce, let's wrap it up here. All right. Thank you again for coming out this morning to share some time with us and share with the brethren. So, brethren, this will wrap up this episode here of Views from the Grand East. So thank you again to Right Worshipful Bruce C. Golway, Senior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of New Jersey. We'll have next, the next is going to be Bruce. Right, we'll have our Right Worshipful Bruce, Bruce, what am I saying? Bud Maggi the third. I'm getting all confused now.
He's the fifth.
The 5th?
He's the 5th.
Forgive me, I'm horrible. So Bud Maggi the 5th. Is he in the building? Do you even know? Yeah, he's here? Perfect. All right, guys, so that's it. We're going to wrap up here. We'll have Bud on for the next episode. Thank you again for tuning in.